What's going on, WolfPack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well today. Thank you all so much again for tuning in. Again, we're doing a very exciting episode today as we're breaking down one team that I think that we have super high expectations for. In fact, actually, I would say the highest expectations you can have on a team, which is a national championship. That is for women's basketball. I got high expectations for this team, but we are super excited to see them and to see it happen. So before we get into it, though, please make sure, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Again, it's free to do. It really helps support us in the channel. Give this video a like, and also to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. And please make sure to go out and check out all of our NC State content if you haven't already. We did already a men's basketball preview and also a wrestling preview. So make sure to check those both out if you haven't already. So with that being said, first of all, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about at the top of the helm. So talk about Wes Moore here and how spectacular I think is the first word that comes to mind when I think about his reign so far at NC State. You know, obviously from year one, really just took the bull by the horns and was super impressive. Making it to NCAA's and it hasn't looked back since. And so, I mean, I'm curious, making for you first. I think that for all of us, when Debbie Yao was hired, you knew that women's basketball was going to be a focus point for her. And so for her to bring somebody on who also too was a part of K-Yao, to also basically now seems like almost be like the person to kind of finish what she started, to get to the highest point, get to that elite point. So I mean, I feel like that we are so close, and I mean he's been absolutely spectacular for this program and for the school in general.
Yeah, man. He's winning 70. His winning record is 76%. He's clearly one of the best coaches that we've had in 20, 30 years. I mean, he's up there. I mean, and obviously he has a lot to prove still to move forward. I think the goal is, you've already won the 2 ACC championships, which is like back-to-back amazing. Heck, they were picked to finish, I think 50 out of 57 voters in the media had NC State as a favorite to win the ACC. So they could get 3 straight, but to me, the goal has to be Elite 8 and beyond. Again, like
easily.
They had the Sweet 16 last year. That's nice. Get you a banner. You're one of the 16 best teams, but we all knew that team could be so much better than where they were and where they finished. And now they have a roster that really can do it. I know we're taping this right after the South Carolina game, and State lost by 9 points to South Carolina. But obviously, like we all know, that was the number 1 team in the country. And clearly, State was it just wasn't their night shooting the ball. I mean, I know Jakia Brown-Turner was leading scorer. Raina Perez had some really nice moments, especially at the beginning of the game. I mean, if it wasn't for her at the beginning of the game, it could have been way worse. But there is so much. You can see it. Even though we didn't win the game, you can just see it with this team. And he has Wes Moore has really built this program up. And it's exciting. I mean, it really is. So I think he has all the potential in the world to win a national championship. It's just a matter of, it's hard to do. I mean, you have to be that one team, that 1 year in the entire country to do it. And a lot has to go your way. Sometimes it's going to take some luck too. It's going to take staying healthy, but Wes Moore has been easily one of the best hires. With him and Papalizio with wrestling. I'm trying to think who else. The Braden Holloway for swimming. And then, I mean, honestly, you're going to, maybe we're getting to the point if depending upon how this season goes with football, maybe Dave Dorn's in that conversation. Yeah. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but when you look at Braden Holloway, Papalizio, and Wes Moore, they're the top 3 her hires right so far.
And I would even throw in women's tennis as well. I can't think of the name. I think it's Simon.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I think is his name. But I mean, taking NC State women's tennis to a Final Four last season, I mean, it's super impressive. So, I mean, she's bringing in, she brought in not only great talents coaching wise, but young talent. I mean, they're all young. They're going to be here for a long time. So, Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Wes Moore has definitely gone above and beyond, and with the, like you said, back-to-back ACC titles, he's pretty much done well in every aspect of the program. Like he's had great recruiting classes and great work in the transfer portal. And then we'll talk about the roster a little bit more, but yeah, I mean, he's obviously one of the top hires.
Well, especially too, I mean, you look at the coach before was Kelly Harper, who's now at Tennessee, funny enough, and so her last year, State went 17-17 overall, and was 7-11 in the ACC, and then Wes Moore's first year was 25-8 and 11-5 in the conference. So, which tells me that, I mean, again, I mean, there could be some slight changes in rosters for sure, but I mean, to go through a coaching change and see a drastic increase in your win percentage really tells me that, I mean, obviously it's obvious that Wes Moore is he's just a great coach. He's just a great coach. And I know that even from talking when we did our interview with Ace Koenig, back in March, one of the things that she said was how much of a he's a guy that just watches film over and over all night long, even if he has to sleep over in his office. And he's somebody that, like, during practice, they'll be running sets or running defenses. And if you're like a foot off of where you're supposed to be, he'll tear you a new one and be like, no, you're supposed to be here,
right.
which is really only like foot away.
Right.
And it's like, that's ridiculous. But it's like, it matters, especially in basketball, where it's really, I mean, you're talking football is a game of inches. I mean, basketball is a game of centimeters. It's I mean,
right.
there's not a whole lot of court to work with, so every inch matters. But yeah, and obviously for Wes Moore, I think one of the most exciting things again is where he came from a K-Yao, a bloodline almost, where he was actually assistant coach under K-Yao, for those who don't know, any of our listeners don't know that. So again, for somebody who obviously understands what we're looking for, understands the name K-Yao and what this program is, but even for looking at kind of the vision that he's selling to the players. I mean, to get a transfer like Diamond Johnson, who at the time when she was getting recruited was like the number 6, 7, overall recruit or something like that in the country, and to bring her in from Rutgers, I think again as a COVID freshman, I mean, just tells me obviously that, I mean, he completely sold her on the vision of this program, of this team, of this environment. And I really do hope last night at the South Carolina game that she kind of saw that. I mean, God, like a sold out Reynolds Coliseum is one of the toughest environments in women's basketball, easily, for sure. It was crazy last night.
Was every seat filled?
Most of them. I mean, it was
most of them. Yeah.
It was like, it was singular seats,
right,
that were sitting around, but a lot of people too were like sitting or like standing in front of like the glass area or whatever as well.
Right.
Like on Rails Coliseum for those who've been there. So, but I mean, it was pretty much elbow to elbow. And I mean,
it was loud. Yeah. You could tell from
I'm
just
not
on
saying
TV.
What the environment. I'm just curious because I mean, you couldn't.
Yeah.
At times you could see it was pretty full. I didn't know how full it was.
Well, for those who even saw like Debbie Yao tweeted out like a video of like the students like lined up outside of Reynolds Coliseum to get in. Like it was, I mean, the hype is real, and I truly do think that if there was a time like where we went on a couple runs but we just could never quite take over, if we could have taken over that game, I think it would have taken the environment to the next level. Just because I think that all the fans got excited, but then South Carolina would just kind of go back on another run. It's like, so because I mean we didn't lead the entire game. So, which is kind of a bummer, but
I think that would have been one of the big moments. If we could have somehow gotten the lead, I think that would have been. Yeah, I don't say it would have been it because South Carolina's good, but I just think that would have been huge momentum boost right there. But with that, to South Carolina's credit, they kept us at bay and they had answers every time. But yeah, State's team is exciting. You guys know, and I know we haven't talked to it on our with the fans that we talked to here, but I'm a big believer in Diamond Johnson. You've already talked, you've mentioned it, Leighton, but she did not have a great night, and that was kind of surprising to me. But you look back at the exhibition game, she had 18 points in 17 minutes, and that's pretty crazy. Maybe not crazy as word, but that's pretty. It's really impressive. To say you're averaging over a point, barely over a point per minute on the floor. Not many people can say that for any game in their career. So I'm really excited about that. I really like what I saw from Jakia Brown Turner. I mean, and probably can get more into this moving forward. And again, Kunane did not have a good night, but
No.
that's just one game.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightland's Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flightlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. There was a couple different my thoughts on that in my head when I was watching the game. First of all, it just seemed like there was a lot of rust. It seemed like there was a lot of just things were just not clicking. We just weren't on the same page as a team. It seemed like Diamond was a little bit stuck in her old ways under Rutgers. And what I mean by that is it seemed like she was definitely forcing a lot of shots. She was forcing a lot of plays. And it because I'm sure at Rutgers that she was basically like, hey, Diamond, whatever you want to do, go for it. Like, if you want to shoot that ball, go for it. But I mean, we have the talent here that's like, listen, you got to we got to get everybody involved here. There would be many times where she would drive up the ball, do some moves, which were awesome, and then put up the shots and again, but she wasn't feeling it. So it's like, they always say, if you're not shooting well, get somebody else involved who is shooting well. And, unfortunately wasn't many last night, but again, that'll come. That'll come.
My point to that, one thing I want to add to that is you're kind of making a comment as in some regard, I'm looking as a negative that she, and if that's the way, that's fine. I totally get that. But my view on that is Wes Moore very well could just say, you have a green light at all times to shoot. I mean, he could have said that, because I know some teams, some coaches are like, hey, look, man, like TJ Warren, for instance. I'm not saying she's doing that same level, but like TJ Warren had, and for the men's basketball team, he had a green light at any time he wanted to. You don't think Kunane has a shot pretty much any time she wants to take a green light to take it? I think he's probably thinking, okay, you're probably one of the 3 or 4 better scorers on our team.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that with
you got
Warren,
a shot, go.
With Warren, he was by far the best player that we had on our team when he was at during his last year at NC State. But with Diamond, as talented as she is, I wouldn't say that she's head and tails or even necessarily.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think she may have had the green light, and if
possibly
your coach is behind you, at some point, I do think for shooters, you just need to shoot out of your slump sometimes, and that sounds counterintuitive because you're thinking, well, if you keep missing shots, then what's the point? But I think some point, for at least in the first game, again, it was against number 1 South Carolina, but I think it was, I would be curious to know what those discussions were between Wes Moore and Diamond Johnson, or I mean, Kunane's considered that she's got a green light to shoot whenever she wants to, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I think one of the biggest disappointments for sure for me was Kunane. And again, I'm saying this, first of all, saying that she is going to be, in my opinion, the easiest option for ACC Player of the Year. She is going to be a first-round draft pick next season. She is a great talent. She had a bad game last night, and I know that again, even Wes Moore said that they are their toughest critic. So I'm saying this and saying Kunane did not have a great game. In fact, I would say that for her for what we've seen from her, she had a not good game at all. I mean, Aaliyah Boston, who was a first team All-American, she had Kunane's number last night. She was just owning Kunane last night, and Kunane just could get nothing going.
And I was going to say, it's probably to do with the fact that that's probably one of the best forwards, if not the best forward, she'll go up against the whole season. So.
Yeah, but again, I'm just saying that, in a game like that, I basically hope that Kunane can basically cancel Boston out. Just like for everything Boston does, Kunane's doing right along with her, at least. Just basically cancel her out. But I mean, Kunane was just ineffective. It just didn't seem like she just definitely was not her normal self. But again, not many players were besides Perez and Jakia Brown Turner, who pretty much were carrying the team last night.
They kept us in it.
Scoring 36 over half of the team points last night between the two of them. But again, I mean, even like for Kai Crutchfield, who again last season shot about 47% from the 3. She didn't hit one 3-point shot last night. So that's, I mean, again, it just seemed like, again, rust. It just was, things weren't
Well,
clicking.
it's also
but,
nerves too. I mean, it's like your first game back with fans in a year, and then
that
then
could
your
be.
first game's against number 1 in the country.
Right. I would say, yeah, but the fans I get, because especially like even Perez said that she hadn't played in front of NC State fans before, So I mean,
And that's a great point. That's a great point. Other than maybe the ACC tournament.
Yeah. So I mean, not to say that affected Perez. Obviously, Perez played well, but yeah, it could be maybe with Kai, maybe with Diamond. I don't know. Maybe because again, Diamond, she played at Rutgers last year, so she hasn't played in front of in a college basketball environment in her college career yet either. So
nothing like that. That's for sure.
No, definitely nothing like that. So, but that could be something to do with it as well. So yeah, that's a good point, Macon. Didn't really think about that. So, but again. And Michael, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on this as well. But I mean, really for me, I was talking to a fan last night, and really I feel like yesterday was kind of you had a lot to gain because obviously if you won, you had a quality, Q1 easily win on your resume.
Yeah.
If you lost, you had, a loss to a team that's going to, be one of the top 3-4 teams in the country. So for me, I feel like you had a lot to gain, but not really much to lose. I mean, just because again, it's the first game of the year. I mean, like we beat South Carolina last year and look where they ended up. I mean, they ended up just fine, so I mean, I feel like last night wasn't really much of a, it didn't really change anything for me in terms of thoughts on the team or the season or anything like that.
No, I totally agree with you there. I mean, that's pretty much the best loss you can have. I mean,
that's true.
I guess the only thing that could have made it better is if it was at South Carolina, but still. Right. Against the number 1 team, like that's not gonna. Like you said, it doesn't. It would have been nice to get the win. Could have played better in some parts. Could have shot the ball better, but at the end of the day, that shots just don't fall some games. And this team will be fine.
And the only other thing too, which I'll say is obviously we didn't have Jada Boyd last night. Again, she's going to be out for a month or two. Still coming back from a hand injury, if I'm not mistaken. She had surgery on her hand. And then obviously Kayla Jones was on a limit last night. I think Wes said 20 minutes or something like that. But that if we were close, that they would use her more. And so, I mean, I think like if we saw which we're going to see him again, I'm very confident. And I even said last night that bet the house we're going to see him again, at least in the NCAA tournament, and we're going to have Jada Boyd that time, and we're going to be hungry, and again we're going to have a full Kayla Jones. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a different story. Now I'm not saying we're going to crush them. I'm saying that yesterday we just kind of didn't really have what it took to beat them, but I think we will next time we see them. But so kind of talking a little bit now in terms of like a roster per roster step. So, obviously one of the biggest pieces of news going into this offseason was that we had all 5 starters back from last season, 4 of whom averaged over double digits. And so to have all of that production back, and then on top of it, adding some pieces like a Diamond Johnson, like a Madison Hayes from Mississippi State, I truly do feel that with any team, you look for 3 things, and that's depth, talent, and experience. And I truly do think with this team that you're checking all 3 boxes. I mean, you're seeing players that like all of our starters that obviously have the experience. They're all talented because we're pretty much 4 or 5 stars, and I mean they're all some of the best shooters and players in the country. And I mean, we can easily go 9, even probably 10 deep, and feel pretty comfortable putting any one of them out. I mean, could either of you guys honestly point out a weakness to me about this team? Maybe even using last night is maybe a little bit of a, maybe did it point out a little bit of a weakness to me last night?
I think you say, we can go 9 or 10 deep, but it seemed like Wes Moore was almost hesitant to do that. It really felt like part of that had to do with Jada Boyd being out and Kayla Jones on him, our minutes restricted. But seemed like he really played.
He played 8 last night, and then that doesn't even include Jada Boyd. So, I mean,
yeah. So at that point, that's probably where it comes in. But yeah,
the one which I'll say, Macon, maybe this might help a little bit, is it seemed like, because again, South Carolina, they have a lot. They have two big forwards, two really tall forwards, and most of their guards have pretty good size in them as well. So like the first half, we were out rebounded 19-9, and so I worry a little bit, maybe necessarily about rebounding size a little bit, but
Yeah,
I mean
that's what I was kind of going to say myself. Yeah.
so yeah, and so I don't know if maybe you kind of. So do you want to piggyback on that at all?
Yeah, I mean maybe that, and I would say Raina Perez and Diamond Johnson, though they're very good players. I mean, good players, and they're going to get their own shot. They are they're smaller, on the smaller side, and you could tell that when driving in that they are going to if they're going up against they're not going to go up against a center like Aaliyah Boston every night. So that should be like taken for what that's worth. But they're going to have to be able to move the ball well. I didn't see as much ball movement maybe I would like to have seen. I've seen some more individual shots, and that's common with season openers, whether it's men or women. It's just you're trying to. If your not offense isn't going, players tend to feel the need to make it happen themselves.
Right.
And so you kind of saw that a little bit. But my thing is, I don't want us to get too reliant, and I don't think we're going to. I didn't get the sense that we did that last night, but too reliant on Elisa. And I know you got Kayla Jones who can come in. You got Camille Hobby who can come in. Heck, you got that new freshman Sophie Hart, which I don't think they're probably not going to try to play her if they can help it. But they need to not be doing. They need to be able to have be a balanced scoring team.
Yep.
That would be my only thing. And if they can't run the 1 in 4 out system with their kicking it into Elisa whenever they want to, if they can't do that, well then how are they hitting their shots? Right. That's the main thing to me. I think some regard is size, maybe at the point guard position, and then relying too much on Elisa at times. I don't want them to be that way. I want to be a balanced team on every front.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, obviously, last night South Carolina had 9 blocks. We had none. So I mean, that definitely stands out for sure. But again, hey, at the end of the day, it's a learning curve, and again, it's a long season. And everything for this team is still there, so we'll just keep at that. But so with that being said, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Again, we're going to wrap this up here, but make sure to tune in with us for part 2, as we kind of talk a little bit about some of the new faces on the team and break them down a little bit, and then also talking a little bit more about our expectations for the rest of the season. So again, just a reminder, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free to do. It helps us and supports the channel. Give this video a like. Check out all of our other great in-state content, and follow us at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you all so much again. As always, go Pack, y'all.